Ethiopia is no ordinary destination. Step into a land where traditions, landscapes, and culture weave together in ways found nowhere else, making it one of Africa's most fascinating travel experiences. Ethiopian women prefer loyalty and seriousness in relationships. In Ethiopia, relationships are built on a foundation of loyalty and seriousness rather than casual encounters. Ethiopian women often see dating as a pathway to something long-term, with trust and consistency at the heart of it. In many cases, a relationship isn't just between two individuals, it extends to families and communities, making loyalty even more important. This cultural emphasis reflects values deeply rooted in tradition, religion, and the importance of strong family ties. When an Ethiopian woman chooses a partner, she typically expects honesty and stability. Casual dating, as seen in many Western societies, is far less common, especially outside of major cities. Even in urban centers like Addis Ababa, where modern influences are stronger, the preference for meaningful commitment remains dominant. Ethiopian women often look for signs that a man is genuinely serious about the relationship, not only in words, but in actions. Meeting family, showing respect for traditions, and demonstrating consistency are ways in which loyalty is tested and proven. This seriousness doesn't mean relationships lack romance or joy. On the contrary, the strength of commitment often deepens affection. Ethiopian women value shared experiences, whether it's the intimacy of a coffee ceremony, the warmth of family gatherings, or celebrating cultural festivals together. For them, loyalty provides the security to build a relationship where love can thrive naturally. In Ethiopia, romance is less about fleeting passion and more about growing a lasting bond built on trust, respect, and devotion. The only country with its own script. Ethiopia stands apart from the rest of the world for many reasons, but one of the most fascinating is its writing system. While most countries share alphabets or adapt scripts from others, Ethiopia proudly uses its own, Ge'ez or Fidel, a script that has been in use for nearly 2 millennia. Unlike borrowed writing systems such as Latin or Arabic, Ge'ez was born on Ethiopian soil, making it a rare cultural treasure that reflects the nation's deep history and independence. Each symbol in Fidel represents a syllable, and with over 200 distinct characters, it paints a picture of linguistic richness, unlike anywhere else on Earth. Originally developed for the Ge'ez language, now used mainly in Ethiopian Orthodox Church liturgy, the script lives on as the foundation for modern Ethiopian languages like Amharic and Tigrinya. It is written from left to right, unlike many other ancient scripts, and carries with it centuries of tradition, resilience, and pride. To this day, Ethiopian children grow up learning Fidel in school, continuing a legacy of literacy that is unique to their cultural identity. This makes Ethiopia one of the very few countries where people still read and write in a script designed entirely within their own borders. But Fidel is more than just a way of writing. It's a living link to Ethiopia's past. From royal chronicles and religious texts carved in stone to modern newspapers printed daily, the script has adapted through centuries without losing its essence. In a world where globalization often erases local traditions, Ethiopia's script stands tall as a symbol of cultural survival, proudly declaring, "This land tells its story in its own alphabet." Time runs differently in Ethiopia. In Ethiopia, time truly runs differently from the rest of the world. Instead of resetting the clock at midnight, the Ethiopian day begins at sunrise, when light first touches the land. This means that what the rest of the world knows as 7 a.m. is actually 1 o'clock in Ethiopia. The logic is simple and beautifully tied to nature. The day begins when the sun rises and ends when it sets. For a country close to the equator, where daylight hours remain consistent year-round, this system has worked flawlessly for centuries. This unique way of measuring time is more than just a quirk. It's woven into the rhythm of daily life. Farmers rise at the first hour after sunrise, markets open by the third or fourth hour, and social gatherings often stretch into the evening hours after sunset. For travelers, it can be a little confusing at first. Imagine asking for a meeting at 2 o'clock and realizing your host shows up 6 hours later. Because in Ethiopia, that's what 2 o'clock means. To avoid misunderstandings, Ethiopians often clarify by saying International Time or Ethiopian Time. Beyond practicality, Ethiopia's time system is a reminder of how differently societies can shape their relationship with the natural world. While most of the globe lives by a rigid clock divorced from daylight, Ethiopians remain tied to the sun's journey. It reflects a culture deeply rooted in its land and traditions, where time flows not by artificial standards, but by the steady, ancient rhythm of nature itself. The Ark of the Covenant. In the ancient city of Aksum, Ethiopia, stands a small, mysterious chapel that holds one of the most astonishing claims in the world: the resting place of the Ark of the Covenant. According to Ethiopian tradition, the sacred chest built to house the Ten Commandments was brought to Ethiopia by Menelik I, son of King Solomon and the Queen of Sheba. Since then, it has remained hidden away in the St. Mary of Zion Church, guarded by a single monk whose life's duty is to protect it. What makes this story so captivating is that no one, not even the country's leaders, has ever laid eyes on the Ark except for the chosen guardian. He is not allowed to leave the chapel, devotes himself to prayer, and is believed to sacrifice everything to safeguard the holy relic. Over the centuries, countless explorers, archaeologists, and historians have tried to unravel the mystery, but the Ark's presence remains one of Ethiopia's most closely held secrets. For Ethiopians, however, this is not a mystery, but a matter of deep faith. The Ark plays a central role in the country's spiritual identity, and replicas of it, called tabots, are carried during religious festivals like Timkat, symbolizing God's covenant with His people. Whether the real Ark truly rests in Aksum or not, the belief itself shapes Ethiopian culture, attracting pilgrims and seekers from around the world who come to stand at the gates of what they believe is the world's holiest treasure. Eating with injera. In Ethiopia, food is more than just nourishment. It is a celebration of community, and nothing embodies this better than injera. This soft, spongy sourdough flatbread, made from the ancient grain teff, is the foundation of every meal. Its unique texture acts like an edible plate, with stews, vegetables, and sauces served directly on top of it. Diners tear off pieces of injera with their hands and use them to scoop up bites, creating a flavorful combination of tangy bread and spicy aromatic dishes. Meals are typically served on a large shared platter placed at the center of the table, bringing families and friends together. Eating with injera is more than a technique. It is a cultural ritual. Using the right hand, each person pinches off a piece of bread, dips it into the shared dishes, and savors the harmony of flavors. One of the most heartwarming traditions is gursha, when someone lovingly feeds another person a mouthful of food, symbolizing trust, love, and friendship. This way of eating reflects Ethiopia's values of unity and togetherness. It breaks down barriers, reminds people of their connections, and transforms every meal into a social event. Injera is not just bread. It is history, heritage, and hospitality rolled into one. For visitors, the first bite of injera is often unforgettable, not just for its unique taste, but for the warmth of being welcomed into an Ethiopian tradition, where food is always shared, never solitary. Raw meat delicacy in Ethiopia. In Ethiopia, one of the most surprising culinary traditions is the love for teresiga, raw strips of beef served fresh with a mix of spices. For many outsiders, the thought of eating raw meat may sound daring, but for Ethiopians, it is a centuries-old delicacy tied to celebration and community. The meat is usually accompanied by a blend of spicy mustard, chili powder, and a Waze sauce, creating a fiery kick that balances the tenderness of the beef. Historically, this tradition dates back to times of war, when soldiers avoided cooking meat to prevent giving away their position with smoke. Over the years, it evolved into a proud national dish enjoyed at weddings, holidays, and special gatherings. But it's not just about the taste, it's about the ritual. The meat is often carved directly in front of the diners, who slice pieces, dip them in spice, and savor the freshness together. It's a dish that emphasizes trust, skill, and sharing. While it may sound unusual to many, in Ethiopia, teresiga is a symbol of strength and honor. Eating it is seen as a mark of bravery, a connection to tradition, and a way of bonding with family and friends. For adventurous travelers, trying raw meat in Ethiopia is more than a meal. It's a cultural experience that reveals the deep-rooted values of courage, hospitality, and heritage in Ethiopian life. The Dalol Depression. In Ethiopia's Danakil Desert lies the Dalol Depression, a place so extreme it looks more like another planet than Earth. With temperatures soaring well above 45 degrees Celsius, 113 degrees Fahrenheit, year-round, it is often called the hottest inhabited place on the planet. But what makes Dalol truly otherworldly is its neon-colored landscape. Sulfur pools glowing yellow, salt formations glistening white, and bubbling acid springs radiating shades of green and orange. It's a kaleidoscope of colors created by volcanic activity and mineral-rich waters. Despite its harshness, the Dalol Depression is alive with geological drama. Steam vents hiss from the earth, geysers spit boiling water, and crusty salt flats stretch to the horizon. The region sits at the meeting point of tectonic plates that are slowly pulling apart, making it one of the most geologically active places on Earth. Walking here feels like stepping onto the surface of Venus or Mars, which is why scientists often use Dalol as a testing ground for studying extraterrestrial environments. Yet, in this inferno, life endures. Salt miners carve out blocks by hand under the blazing sun, continuing a centuries-old trade that has shaped the local Afer culture. Camels carry heavy slabs of salt across the desert in long caravans, just as they have for generations. The Dalol Depression is brutal, surreal, and beautiful all at once. A reminder that Earth's most inhospitable places can also be its most breathtaking. Ethiopia, a nation of orthodox fasting. In Ethiopia, food and faith are deeply intertwined, and nowhere is this more evident than in the Orthodox tradition of fasting. For nearly 200 days each year, millions of believers abstain from meat, dairy, and animal products, relying instead on grains, vegetables, and legumes. These fasting periods are not only acts of devotion, but also communal rhythms that shape the nation's diet and social life. From casual meals at home to lavish feasts, the influence of fasting is seen everywhere. During these days, kitchens transform into hubs of creativity. Lentil stews, spicy chickpea dishes, and rich vegetable curries take center stage, all served atop injera, Ethiopia's signature sourdough bread. Restaurants across the country also adapt, offering fasting menus that are entirely plant-based, ensuring that the tradition is accessible to everyone. The cuisine that emerges from fasting is so flavorful and satisfying that even non-Orthodox Ethiopians and visitors happily partake. But fasting in Ethiopia goes beyond food. It reflects discipline, humility, and spiritual renewal. Each fast is seen as a way to cleanse the body and soul, to prepare for holy days, and to deepen one's faith. It also unites communities, as millions follow the same rhythm of abstinence and celebration. In a world where plant-based diets are gaining popularity, Ethiopia has quietly been perfecting them for centuries, guided by devotion and tradition. Here, fasting is not a restriction, but a cultural and spiritual feast of its own. The only country with a biblical kingdom still alive. Ethiopia is unique in the world for preserving a living link to one of the most legendary unions in biblical history. According to tradition, the Ethiopian monarchy traces its lineage back nearly 3,000 years to King Solomon of Israel and the Queen of Sheba. Their son, Menelik I, is said to have founded the Solomonic dynasty, a royal line that ruled Ethiopia for centuries and gave the nation a sacred identity unlike any other. This claim to divine ancestry shaped Ethiopia's place in the world. For generations, emperors were seen not just as rulers, but as heirs to a biblical covenant, chosen to guide their people with wisdom and strength. The monarchy endured conquests, invasions, and shifting empires, yet it remained a symbol of resilience and pride. Even into the 20th century, Emperor Haile Selassie I carried this mantle, becoming an international icon and a spiritual figure for movements like Rastafarianism. Though Ethiopia's monarchy was officially abolished in 1974, its legacy is far from gone. Many Ethiopians still honor the Solomonic lineage as a cornerstone of national identity, and the story of Solomon and Sheba lives on in art, literature, and ritual. The Ethiopian monarchy may no longer reign politically, but it continues to exist in memory, heritage, and faith. A living echo of one of the Bible's most powerful tales. Here, the ancient past still breathes through the present. Hyena feeding in Harar. In the ancient walled city of Harar, Ethiopia, nightfall brings a scene both eerie and mesmerizing. Men hand-feeding wild hyenas. This centuries-old ritual began as a way to keep the predators from attacking livestock by offering them scraps of meat. Over time, it evolved into a nightly tradition that blurs the line between man and beast. Visitors watch in awe as hyenas, with glowing eyes and powerful jaws, trot fearlessly through the dark streets to claim their share of food. What makes this ritual so astonishing is the level of trust between humans and these notoriously dangerous animals. Hyena men, as they are called, place sticks in their mouths and let the hyenas snatch meat directly from them, a display of daring and mutual understanding. The practice is deeply rooted in Harar's culture and spiritual beliefs, with locals considering hyenas to be part of the city's balance between the natural and supernatural worlds. For outsiders, it may seem terrifying, but for Harar's people, feeding the hyenas is a mark of respect and harmony. The tradition has become a symbol of the city itself, drawing curious travelers who come to witness this unique bond. In a few places on Earth, humans and wild predators coexist in such a ritualized, almost sacred way. Harar's hyena feeding is not just a spectacle. It is a living tradition that shows how culture can transform fear into coexistence. The Red Terror Martyrs Museum in Ethiopia. In the heart of Addis Ababa stands the Red Terror Martyrs Museum, a solemn space that bears witness to one of Ethiopia's darkest chapters. During the late 1970s and early 1980s, the communist Derg regime carried out mass killings known as the Red Terror, targeting anyone suspected of opposing its rule. Tens of thousands of men, women, and even children were executed or disappeared, leaving deep scars on Ethiopian society. The museum was built to ensure these stories are never forgotten. Inside, the exhibits are stark and haunting. Glass cases display the clothing, photographs, and personal belongings of victims, while walls are lined with testimonies from survivors. Visitors confront piles of skulls and bones, grim reminders of the brutality inflicted on ordinary people. The museum doesn't shy away from the horrors. It forces guests to stand face to face with history, to feel the weight of lives cut short and families shattered. Yet, beyond the grief, the Red Terror Martyrs Museum carries a message of resilience. It is not only a memorial to the dead, but also a call for justice, education, and remembrance. By preserving this painful history, Ethiopians honor the victims and teach future generations the dangers of tyranny and violence. For travelers, it is an emotional but vital stop, one that reveals the strength of a nation determined to heal, remember, and build a future where such tragedy will never be repeated. Ancient salt currency. Long before coins and paper money became common in Ethiopia, everyday trade often relied on a glistening, crystalline treasure, salt. Known locally as amole, these rectangular blocks of salt were more than just seasoning for food. They were an essential currency in bustling markets. For centuries, amole circulated through towns and villages, exchanged for livestock, grain, and household goods, holding a value that was universally understood across the land. The origin of this unusual money can be traced to Ethiopia's Danakil Depression, where salt has been mined for thousands of years. Camel caravans transported heavy loads of salt blocks across harsh desert landscapes, sometimes traveling for weeks to reach highland towns. Each amole was carefully shaped and standardized, ensuring fairness in trade. The blocks were prized not only for their practicality in preserving food, but also for their durability, making them both a necessity and a symbol of wealth. Although modern currency eventually replaced salt, the legacy of amole lives on as a powerful cultural memory. In rural Ethiopia, salt is still seen as a valuable commodity, and in some communities, it retains a ceremonial role in exchanges and gifts. For travelers, visiting the salt mines and watching the age-old caravans wind across the desert offers a glimpse into a remarkable past, where the very flavor of life doubled as money. Ethiopia's salt currency reminds us how creativity and survival have always shaped human economies in the most fascinating ways. Unique shoulder dance in Ethiopian ceremonies. The eskista, Ethiopia's iconic shoulder dance, is unlike any form of movement seen elsewhere in the world. Instead of relying on the feet or hips, dancers channel their energy through rapid, rolling, and vibrating shoulder motions, creating a mesmerizing rhythm that pulses through the body. Often performed in a circle, men and women respond to the beat of traditional drums and the soulful melodies of masinko and krar, each movement growing faster and more intricate as the performance builds. What makes eskista extraordinary is its deep connection to Ethiopian identity. Far more than entertainment, it is a cultural expression that carries history, pride, and storytelling. Dancers use subtle shifts of the shoulders and chest to mimic the natural world. Rippling rivers, grazing cattle, or even the intensity of battle. It is a visual language understood instinctively by Ethiopians, one that transforms celebrations, weddings, and festivals into vibrant communal experiences. Every shoulder jerk and shake seems to carry the spirit of centuries-old traditions passed down through families. Today, eskista has stepped beyond rural villages and entered modern stages, captivating audiences around the globe. Young performers often blend it with contemporary music, creating a dazzling fusion that showcases both heritage and innovation. Yet, whether seen in a traditional hut or a concert hall in Addis Ababa, its hypnotic energy remains unmistakable. Eskista is more than dance. It is Ethiopia's heartbeat in motion, an art form that astonishes with its power and uniqueness. False banana plant. The enset, known as the false banana, looks remarkably like the banana tree, but carries a completely different purpose in Ethiopia. Unlike the banana, its fruit is inedible. Instead, Ethiopians rely on its starchy stem and underground corm as a vital food source. Through careful fermentation, enset is transformed into kocho, a thick, bread-like staple, and into porridge or other dishes that sustain millions of people in the highlands. It is so integral to survival that locals often call it the tree against hunger. What makes enset extraordinary is its resilience. The plant can be harvested at any time of year and provides food security even during drought, making it one of Ethiopia's most reliable crops. Its versatility extends beyond the kitchen. The fibrous leaves serve as roofing material, animal fodder, and even natural plates for meals. The fermentation process, carried out in pits lined with enset leaves, is a tradition passed down for centuries, blending practicality with cultural knowledge. Scientists are increasingly fascinated by enset's potential to fight global hunger. With its ability to withstand changing climates and provide year-round nutrition, it is now being studied as a super crop for the future. Yet, for Ethiopians, it is already far more than a scientific marvel. It is an everyday lifeline and a symbol of ingenuity. The false banana may not bear edible fruit, but in Ethiopia, it has cultivated survival, tradition, and hope for generations. A nation with 80-plus ethnic groups, Ethiopia is one of the world's most diverse nations, home to more than 80 distinct ethnic groups, each with its own language, customs, and traditions. From the highland Amhara and Tigray peoples to the pastoralist Afar and Somali, and from the Oromo, the largest group, to the tiny Surma and Hamer tribes in the south, Ethiopia is a living mosaic of cultures. Walking through different regions feels like crossing invisible borders, where clothing, food, and even greetings can change entirely within a few kilometers. This diversity is most vibrantly expressed through festivals and rituals. The colorful Timkat celebrations in the north showcase Orthodox Christian heritage, while the southern tribes perform elaborate body painting, scarification, and unique coming-of-age ceremonies. The Omo Valley, often called an anthropological treasure, is home to tribes like the Mursi, known for their lip plates, and the Hamer, famous for their bull-jumping rite of passage. Meanwhile, in bustling Addis Ababa, modern skyscrapers rise alongside traditional coffee ceremonies, showing how old and new identities coexist in daily life. What makes Ethiopia truly remarkable is not just the number of ethnic groups, but the way these diverse traditions contribute to one shared national identity. Languages, music, dance, and crafts intertwine to create a cultural richness unmatched in Africa. This ethnic tapestry is both a challenge and a strength, uniting people across geography while preserving their distinct heritage. In Ethiopia, diversity is not an exception, but the very heartbeat of the nation. Thanks for watching. Ethiopia truly is one of the most unusual countries in Africa, full of surprises at every turn. If you enjoyed this documentary, hit that like button, subscribe for more amazing travel stories, and ring the bell so you never miss our next adventure.